Hi everybody, my name is Angela Cleary. I'm a life coach and I specialise in healing after narcissistic abuse. So today I want to talk about etheric entities and implants. These are like energetic parasites. They feed off of low vibrational and fear-based energy. So I'll describe my personal experience with this because I'm not a professional, but I went through the experience myself and I helped to heal myself through it. So if this can help anyone out there, this is why I'm sharing my story. So I was on a spiritual journey since 2018, but in late 2021 and early 2022, I went through some soul lessons that made me very vulnerable again. I had to leave a group who I believed who were my soul family because they were no longer on the same vibration level as me, and this really it took a lot for me to do this, but it made me feel, I don't know, very weak and vulnerable and I suppose isolated again. And then after this, I attracted another narcissistic boss. So my energy was really, really depleted. I was feeling very low, very upset and very drained from all of these experiences. And because of this, as I said, I felt very vulnerable again. So I confided, or I started to spend more time with my dad. And my dad is very low vibrational energy. He was kind of an energy vampire. And it took a lot for me to walk away from him. But what actually happened, because I was so vulnerable, I was weak, and I was, I suppose, needy again, I started to spend more time with him, feeling I can handle his energy now, it's fine. But I was wrong, and because I was letting his negative energy seep into my soul, an entity, a parasite or an implant latched onto my being. Now, an entity is a dark, vibrational, energetic being. It possesses you. It feeds off of negative and low vibration energy, so it latches on to somebody who is in a fear-based energy. Now, I'm not 100% sure if my dad had an entity as well, but I know it took me a long time to even figure out that I had an entity. But I'll describe how I felt, and I'll describe how I understood this and how I actually started to heal from this. So with an entity, it consumes you. It all consumes you. So, like, in fairness, right, I've been through anxiety and depression. We all know what that's like, and it is debilitating. But I could safely say, no matter how debilitating the depression and anxiety was, being possessed by an entity was so much worse. I was starting to just lose myself completely. I was in constant state of fear all the time. And I mean, it was all consuming fear. It was like this dark cloud around me. But it kept sucking my life force energy away, all of it. And also being around energy vampires, this will do that as well. So it is like an energetic energy vampire. So, like, you know, I wasn't even in my dad's presence, and that's when I started to know that it wasn't just his energy, that it was an energetic energy, because I could feel on a telepathic level that negative, that life force energy being sucked out of me. And this went on for about 1.5 years, where I was slowly but surely, I was dying. My soul was dying. I was in an 8-year narcissistic relationship and I lost all sense of myself. I lost who I was and all of my being, but she was still in there. Myself, Angela, was still in there. And I eventually found her again and I brought her back to life. That was fine. But with this entity, if I hadn't have discovered it when I did, my soul would have gone. My essence would have gone completely. I would effectively have died on the inside because this entity would have sucked my whole essence, being and energy out of me. This fear-based energy, this entity removes you from source. It disconnects you from your soul. It disconnects you from your higher power. It disconnects you from everything. It makes you so fearful and scared of, and I mean everything. I'll describe how I felt. It was, I knew there was something wrong. I knew that I had my soul, my real self was inside me in this glass box, this soundproof glass box, and she was banging and screaming at me to come out. And I could see her, but I couldn't hear her. I didn't know how she got in there. I didn't know how to get her out. And I just knew that it was similar to what it was like after being in a narcissistic relationship. I knew this, but I was like, how am I like this? How is this happening? What's going on? And it was only when I started to get really, I couldn't even go outside my front door. I live in the countryside. I feel so safe living here and I love it. I go out in the nighttime and I watch the stars. I'm not scared. But while this entity had consumed me, I was afraid to step outside my front door. I had all the windows shut and I was locking myself isolated away. I was afraid to do anything. I was afraid to leave the house. I was afraid to talk to anyone. I would let my dogs out and then when I'd let them back in, I'd slam the door and I'd lock it again. And I was like, why am I so scared? I was never scared in this house. I was never ever scared. Why am I so scared? But it was one day that I started to, and every pain I got a twinge of pain every so often. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to die, I'm going to die, I'm going to die. And I got to the stage where I actually said to myself, it's okay. It's all right. I don't mind if I die. It's fine. I've nothing to live for. This is when I knew there was something wrong. I have two beautiful girls out there, my dogs. They saved my life years ago when I was in trauma in 2014. I was drinking vodka raw out of a bottle and I just didn't care about life anymore. I was so bad. And I looked at my dogs and I said to myself, whoa, I'm not here just for me now. I'm here to look after them. So they gave me a sense of living, a sense to live. So for me to be all consumed by this fear and to sit on that couch and say to myself, I have no reason to live anymore. I'm 35 years of age. I have everything to live for. I have a mission on this planet. I have so much more to give to this world. And for me to sit there in such a fear-based energy that I didn't care if I died. And I looked at my dogs and something just clicked to me and I said, this is not my thoughts. These are not my thoughts. I can't leave my girls. I can't. They need me. It's not about me. I need them, but they need me. And that's when I realized, what the fuck is going on? These are not my thoughts. This is not my fear. What is happening to me? And I realized if I didn't listen to that girl in that box screaming out for me to hear that she was dying, I would have lost all sense of self. I would have turned into a shell. I would just be a vessel now if I hadn't listened when I did. Because my soul would have gone. And I didn't even realize I was disconnected from spirit because I was still trying to do my meditation, still doing my cleansing. I couldn't lift this fear. And I was like, what is wrong? What is happening? And it was only when our shamanic practitioner said to me, so I was telling him my story and I come back in a few minutes later. He's like, so you were telling me you were disconnected from spirit? And I was like, no, and I was like, oh, fuck. I was disconnected from spirit. And that's when it was like, oh my God, I was disconnected from my soul. I was disconnected from all of who I was. And I was doing these meditations to try and heal. And I put a playlist on every night. And one of them was an energy protection one. And I listened to them as I sleep, but also my subconscious mind would hear them as well. And I had this itch on my leg, right? This itch that wouldn't go away. And it only came in the nighttime when I was asleep or, it'd wake me up. And I would be scratching this itch on my leg and it wouldn't go away. And it was only after this that I realized it was internal, like an implant. And it was halfway through this meditation that I woke up and I heard her mentioning implants and entities and that it was going to leave my body and all this. And this itch came on me. So I used to break my skin with this itch. I couldn't get it because it was internal. It was like there was something inside me that I couldn't get at. And during this meditation, I was like, entities, implants. And my friends had already mentioned, two of my friends had mentioned entities and implants to me before, and it went over my head. And the next day I looked into this and I read about it, and it described everything I was feeling. You feel so hopeless. You're consumed with fear. And as I said, it's not like anxiety and depression. This fear consumes you. It actually takes away every bit of your essence and every bit of your life force energy. It will kill you. I had I had rashes all over my face. I had stress. My mental health was gone. But I knew it wasn't anxiety and depression. I knew that it was something that was taking away my life force energy, and I did not know what that was. And that's the thing with entities and implants. They're parasites. They will live on you and they will feed off your low vibrational energy. So if you're in a fear-based energy, if you're in a lack mentality all the time, you're easier for these entities to latch onto. And it was only when I discovered what these entities were that I could actually properly heal. Because I was after walking away, I knew my dad was an energy vampire. And I knew that I had to stay away from him for a while just to get myself back up to myself, get my positive energy back up. And I could feel myself getting a bit better, but I didn't know what it was. I didn't know where this fear was coming from, because I had been on my spiritual journey and I was so optimistic and so happy, and the law of attraction made me change my mindset, and I knew how to live positively. I know our thoughts are what we attract, and I could not lift this fear. I was scared of absolutely everything. Absolutely. I mean everything. I was afraid to leave the house. I left the house once a week and I would spend the night before not being able to sleep. Fearful of going outside the house. Fearful of going out. I live in the countryside. No one sees me, but it was like I felt if I went outside, there was someone watching me. It was this darkness that was consuming me. And that's what it feels like. It feels like just, I didn't know what it was, but I just felt so fearful. As I said, I didn't even open the windows. I was locking myself up. I was behind this blanket and I was crying all the time, wondering where this fear was coming from. And it was only, as I said, that I felt, okay, if I die, it's okay. This was not my thoughts. And I was like, this is not my thoughts. So if you feel like there's a fear-based thought in your system that's not your brain, this is not your fear. This could well be a parasite or an entity that is after consuming you. And as I said, only after I realized what it was that I was able to heal it, because an entity will not go away if you don't know it's there. And it will continue to feed off fear, but continue to consume you with fear. And it's only when you can regain the strength, and you through meditation is how I healed it. Through meditation and positive energy, I was able to more or less exercise this demon out of me, because it is like a demon, an all-consuming fear-based demon. I was gone, and if I look back now, it's almost a year since I discovered this, and I discovered how to heal it and to expel it, and I'm back to being healthy again in my mind, my body, and my soul. But I look back now on 2022 and 2023, the start of 2023, and I look back and it makes me want to cry, because I can remember how I felt. And if I hadn't have saved myself and discovered this when I did, I would not be sitting here right now. My body would have been deteriorating because of ill health anyway, because of this. But my soul would no longer be here. I have a deep feeling that I look back now, that entity was taking away everything I was. It was taking away my true being, my true essence, and my true soul. My disconnection from spirit, my disconnection from myself. It was all consuming. And if I hadn't have walked away, it was the hardest thing I ever had to do, was walk away from my dad. And it still hurts me, because it was the hardest thing I ever had to do. But because I had to save myself, I needed to do that. But this entity really did consume me. And I look back now and I think that I don't even know if I would physically be here. I know energetically my soul would not be here now if I hadn't have done the work back then and had discovered that I had this entity or parasite. So like, if you feel anxiety and depression is hard, and it does make you live in a cloud, a bubble, whatever, but it's mild compared to how I felt with this entity, with this parasite, consuming and sucking every bit of who I was. So it's different. If you think that the fear in your mind it's not your fear. If you know how to live positively, and if you have lived an optimistic and positive life. Now, obviously, my previous life before 2018, before I awakened, I was suffering from anxiety, depression, and all that. And it was hard. It was tough. It was a constant depression circled life. But I was still there. And if I was around friends or family members, I would be happy, and my true self would be there, and I'd feel good. But when I had this entity, there was no good days. There was no good days. And like, you know, being reminded of stuff that I used to say like a year before, real happy stuff. And I was just like, okay, where am I gone? Where's she gone? Where is Angela gone? It scared me. And looking back, it scares me so much. And like, you know, I am afraid to reconnect with my family now, because I'm afraid that I will let back in that entity. And I know I'm high vibrational now, and I know I'm back to healthy mind and healthy body and healthy soul. But I cannot let negativity into my life again, because if I let it come in, I could attract this again and I could lose myself completely again. I cannot do that. I cannot do that. I need to protect my being. I have my soul back. I have my true essence back, and I will never, ever, ever lose that again. And if that means that I can't reconnect with certain people, I just can't. I cannot go back to that. I cannot let myself go again. And that's what it is. You will feel yourself, you'll have no energy, you will have absolutely no energy, and you will have no will to live. Now, I am young. For me to lose that after discovering my spirituality, after discovering positivity, after discovering the law of attraction, after manifesting such good into my life, to go from that positivity into this darkness. And I just knew, I was like, I know how to use our mind, I know how to manifest, I know how to live a good life. How am I not able to get out of this? Why can I not get out of this? And it was only, as I said, when I walked away from the negative energy, but also discovered that I had a negative entity attached to my soul, that I could heal it. And as I said, it was all consuming. And if I hadn't have just said, I have to change now, there was one little spark of me left that was strong enough to be able to say, I have to do something now or it'll be too late. And thankfully, I had that little spark left, and thankfully I was able to discover what was wrong. Because I find I can't personally heal something unless I know what it is that I'm healing. And I have to, if it's a past trauma, I have to relive it and re-feel it for me to re-release it and let it go. So I had to understand what I was going through before I could fully heal it. And that's what we need to do. We need to understand the problem before we can actually face it and release it. And I through meditation and through isolation, but that's the thing with the entity as well. The entity isolates you, but I needed to stay away from negative energy for a while. And now I'm embracing, and that's the thing. Nature is so good for the soul. I live in nature. I live in the countryside, but this entity was preventing me from going outside my front door and even standing outside. That's how consuming it was. He wasn't letting me go outside that front door to replenish my soul. He locked me in these four walls and wouldn't let me to do the healing I needed. And I was doing the meditation, I was doing the cleansing, but nothing was working. Nothing was actually working until I discovered what was actually the problem. And that night when I woke up during that meditation and she was saying about the entities and the implants, I was like, oh my God, this is it. And I that, remember I said about the itch? That itch never came back. I have never, ever since. And I know that was a form of implant in my system. And that, because I couldn't, the scratch wouldn't fix it. It was inside. I'd break skin because this itch was inside. This implant, this parasite was inside my being. And until I discovered what it was, I couldn't heal it. I couldn't release it. So that's the thing. We need to figure out if there is something like this consuming your life, consuming your body and your soul. You need to discover what that is before you can actually heal it. You need to figure that out. You need to know, if there is thoughts in your head that aren't yours, if there's fear-based energy consuming your whole life, this could well be an energetic implant or a parasite or an entity that you need to face and release. And as I said, you can't actually heal or you can't expel this entity unless you know it's there, but unless you make your surroundings and your soul high vibrational and positive again. So through cleansing, through going back out in nature, through doing the meditation, and through the actual will to get my soul and my life back, this is how I was able to expel this entity. But if you don't have that, if you don't have the knowing, and if you don't have that will, and if you don't actively try to bring positivity and love back into your life through nature and through cleansing, you will not be able to get rid of this. And this entity will not stop until it completely takes you away from who you really are. So just be aware of the difference between anxiety and depression and between energetic vampires and entities and energetic parasites. Because I would hate for any of you to get to where I did. Like, and as I said, I was on my spiritual journey, but because this consumed me so fully, I couldn't escape it until I walked away from the negative energy in my life and until I actually acknowledged or realised that this was an entity, this was a parasite. This wasn't anything to do with me. And I was able to save myself before I lost myself completely. So, thanks for listening today. And if you do need help with this, seek professional help when it comes to entities and parasites. Look on YouTube for specific meditation for entity extraction. Start to bring positivity back in your life and go out in nature. Go out in nature. Do not let that fucking thing keep you inside your house. It was ridiculous how fearful I was and how scared I was of even stepping outside my front door to stand in nature. That's how scared I was of absolutely everything. Everything. And as I said, I lost the will to live. Completely. And that's when I knew it wasn't my thoughts, because I was like, this is not me. I have two beautiful girls there who need me and who saved my life back in 2014. Why am I thinking it's okay that I can go away now and that my life isn't worth living? I have a mission on this planet and I knew that. And when I got that thought, I was like, there's something wrong here. This is not my thoughts. So if you feel that there is external entity or an external fear base that is not yours, seek professional help. Do that meditation. Get out in nature. Find your